I'm Manny.
I'm Noah.
This is Devin.
And welcome to No Such Thing, the show where we settle our dumb arguments and yours by actually doing the research. This week, I tempt fate by asking, does food poisoning actually exist?
There's no such thing. No such thing. No such thing. No such thing. No such thing.
So this is a very old Manny, Noah, Devin discussion.
Yeah.
We've all heard the stories. Someone goes out to eat, then they're running to the bathroom, they're calling out of work sick. They say they have a bad case of food poisoning. Must have been the nachos. Bad fish.
Yeah.
This has never happened to me like that. Now, let me be clear. I don't have a particularly strong constitution. I'm also not very selective or picky about where I eat. I'm not checking the health ratings on the board.
Sure.
So when I add these things up, food poisoning isn't real.
Oh my god.
Or let me say, it's thrown around. It's thrown around a little too loosely for my liking.
All right.
If I need to be diplomatic.
You're saying we hear about food poisoning more often than it happens.
I think so.
I would agree with that because people, if you're going to call out of work, it's the easiest excuse. I have food poisoning. You don't have to fake being sick beforehand to lead up to lying about it.
Yeah. And you probably don't need to go to a doctor.
No, the doctors
You probably
tell
won't because they're not
can't
going
go
to do
anywhere.
anything for you.
No note.
Yeah.
It's one day. You can come back the next day.
So let's talk about actually being sick.
Mm-hmm.
What are your experiences? We don't need to get into details, but
No, we can get into details
All right,
because
let's
this
do
is
it
what
then.
makes me so upset about you saying it
triggered
doesn't
right now.
This is
exist.
so offensive.
I've had food poisoning 2 to 3 times.
okay, that's not that bad.
No,
Or
I
feel like
I'm gonna be
there's
turning
people
33
who
this year.
it seems
Oh,
like
yeah. They're always
maybe
got it.
every 8 weeks.
No,
they're going through
no,
it. It's
no,
like,
no.
what are you doing now?
Well, what makes me upset about you saying it's not real is that food poisoning is probably the worst sickness you can have. You know that feeling like I want to die?
yeah, all the time.
I only know it because I've gotten food
the
poisoning. Sometimes when you're sick, it's like, oh, I get to relax,
cozy.
be at home,
Cozy
I
up,
can
watch
something.
a movie.
It's just miserable. You have like the shakes.
Yeah.
I hate throwing up.
Oh yeah,
It's
me
the
too.
worst thing in the world. Throwing up. Oh, wait.
What's this?
We got to talk about this real quick. Growing up, when
Oh, I know this. Yeah, I know what this is.
I don't know what the hell this is about.
Yeah, set it up.
growing up, as kids, sometimes you get sick and you got to throw up.
Yeah.
Manny, when we throw up, what do? We get up and you go throw up. Where you throwing up?
In the toilet.
Okay, in the toilet, right? Not in the sink. We're not getting things we cook with to throw up into. Some people get bowls or pots. These are things that they
To hold the vomit.
yes.
And then they put it in the toilet.
Well, it'd be
I don't know
it'd
what
be-
they do with it.
This is what it would be like. Let me speak from my experience.
They're probably eating it
It
later.
would be like, okay, I have a tummy ache.
Yeah.
I'm 6 years old.
Okay.
I'm getting ready for bed,
Uh-huh.
and then I'm gonna take the plastic bowl, and that's gonna be by
No,
my
no,
bedside
in
in
case
case
you
I have it.
throw up.
No,
Yeah.
no. What
'Cause
you
I might
do-
not make it to the bathroom. These are basically storage bowls.
Storage
Okay.
bowls.
So let's break it down for the
These aren't like, it's not like a cereal bowl.
Okay, what is it?
It's like a plastic,
What are you putting in it when you're not throwing up into it?
pretty much nothing, honestly. Other bowls. Like it's,
So this is a thing I've learned over the last couple of years is that in the white community, they throw up into containers that they eventually.
Oh, it's not just a Noah thing.
No,
it's like
no.
a community
Yeah,
wide.
they have like
I
they're
didn't
like,
invent
oh, that's the pot that we would throw up
Yeah.
in, and then also cook our soup in.
it's interesting that the bowl thing bothers you so much because it's like
Yeah.
you don't think someone can wash a bowl. Like you don't trust
I
ingredients.
know
to
that
wash
people can
bowls.
wash a bowl. I understand that you.
People
can
don't even wash their bodies.
Yeah, I know you can sanitize things. To me, it's just like there are other. Did you not have trash cans in your home?
My mom would beat my ass if I threw up in a bowl.
Yes.
But I can understand this from the perspective of like,
It's easier to.
I'm
throw
going to
up in a
wake
bowl.
up and I'm about to throw up and I need
Yeah.
to turn.
Okay, but not
I'm putting something
But
near the
man
bed.
has garbage cans. He's admitted he has had garbage cans in his home. The bowl's not the only container
Yeah,
in your
this is
home.
this is easier. It's
You could-
it's a bowl, so it's easy. There's more
It
to
can
get
hold
in
a lot.
there. Yeah,
I think
I'm a baby basically.
I think you could
This
throw
isn't me
up.
at 15 doing
I just
it.
think it's disgusting to throw up into a pot. That's crazy. It's like the fact this is the cleanup of it.
And then you wash it with Lysol and other stuff. It's just like anything else at that point.
That's
like there's
nasty.
disgusting leftover food all the time.
That's
Yeah.
food. It's not my throw up.
Well,
I don't want to see my throw up in any container
It's
besides
starting
the
to come
toilet.
around. I mean, your vomit.
You're starting to come
Your
around.
vomit is your food with
Yeah,
like a
think
little
about
bit
that.
of bile, I guess.
some time. Food plus
Okay,
time.
but y'all are acting like
Look,
you don't have other options.
No, I know
If
where I
it's throw
throw
up
up.
in that versus on my bed, sure, I'll throw up in
that's
the bowl.
literally
I mean, that's
that's
essentially the
That's what
question.
we're saying.
You have one bowl that you would use, right? It's not even like they're rotating the containers that they're
Oh, there's
throwing
like
Would
up
that be
into.
better or worse? Wouldn't that be worse for you? If now there's 20 bowls that are thrown up in?
I think it's worse than
By your argument,
I think it's
we should
worse-
have a dedicated bowl.
Yes, you should have a dedicated bowl that you're not cooking in.
Okay, I basically said that.
No, but the people, I'm not talking about you specifically.
Okay, well, you're attacking me.
But there are other whites on the internet saying this is the pot or bowl that we would throw up into and also make soup or whatever with.
Look, I think I think we're talking in circles at this point. I want to hear from the listeners.
If your family had a sick
Did you have a dedicated vomit container bowl
that you also
situation?
made food in,
Okay, that you also used
not just like a bucket or a bucket.
one
you have
time.
a bucket in your home? Use a bucket.
All right,
All right.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
You said you've had food poisoning 2 to 3 times.
2 to 3 times.
Do you have an idea of the culprit?
So one time it was a bowl place. It was a Mediterranean bowl. I don't even know. It may have been like a Cava or Chipotle or something like
don't
that.
tell me.
Take
it was
this out.
Cava.
We got sponsors.
It was one, and this was before those
The crazy
were really
feta
a
was
thing.
too crazy.
Yeah, it was.
It's a little nutty.
So it was
that
like
feta.
it wasn't even something I considered to be risky.
Yeah, not.
And once again, this is what I think gave it to me, because the classic food poisoning thing is you get food poisoning, you go through all the things that you ate recently, you're like that's normal, that was out of the ordinary.
yeah, exactly.
Only a year ago, on my way back from LA, I landed at like 11 or midnight, but I was really hungry, and I went to a bodega on my way home and got like a buffalo chicken sandwich, like a hero, and ate it probably 30 to 45 minutes later.
Damn.
Yeah, is when I was like, it was coming right out of me. I was on the toilet forever. I had like a cold sweat and shivers and stuff.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting part. The next day, I was shocked at how I could have gotten so sick from that so quickly.
That's what I was gonna say, man. I didn't want to call you out, but that seemed a little too fast. 30
And
to 45 minutes.
I asked my doctor.
Not even in your body yet.
She was saying that the culprit could be anything you've eaten in the last 10 days. I think we are so attuned to thinking that it's something I just ate that got me sick.
I'm sorry, I don't believe that.
And so I wonder, like, all right, maybe you have a regular sickness and you just finished eating and then you thought it was
Sorry.
that thing.
I can see I'll give you 2. I'm not getting food
You
poisoning
don't
for
think things
something
are
I
sitting
ate
in there?
9 days ago.
You don't
That's
think
out.
they're gestating?
That is out. It came out already. If we're gonna say that, then there was one time in Toronto I ate a pizza with eggplant on it.
Sure.
Something was going on with it. It was one of the things where as I was eating it, I was like,
Something's off.
"Ooh, this feels like I like eggplant, but this is not. Something is up." Went in the bathroom at the pizza place. I'm still there. Threw up. So you talk about 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
How about mid-eating?
Well,
How about 0 minutes?
if you didn't eat anything in that moment, you probably would have went to the bathroom and threw up.
No. I was eating the pizza. The pizza made me feel sick, and then I threw up. It was a response to the pizza.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I know
maybe-
it happened
no, but
right
maybe-
after you ate the pizza.
No, but maybe there's something is inside of you before the pizza. The pizza's just kind of pushing it,
There's 3 doctors right here.
and that's what's spurring it. You're blaming the pizza, the
No.
new pizza, but maybe it was
Yeah.
the old thing you had
The
before
pizza
that.
made me feel
That's what you're
weird.
saying. That's how you feel.
That's what you think. Facts
Now
don't,
you're
is that-
telling me how I felt.
facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
As I was eating the pizza, I was like, "Oh my god, this pizza is making me feel nauseous."
That's because it's
And then I-
interacting with
and then-
whatever you already
And then I
had
would
going on.
say, "Okay," I would put
It
the
was the
pizza,
trigger, maybe.
I would put the
Yeah.
pizza down and say, "Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
not touch it," and I felt okay. The reason I'm telling that story is I didn't think it was food poisoning. I don't know what it was.
I thought you were trying to say
Yeah.
it was.
You don't think it
I had a
happens that
reaction
fast,
to
yeah.
the pizza, but it's not food poisoning.
I
So
see.
you wouldn't call that food poisoning?
No, because how was it poison? It didn't have enough time to poison me.
So what do you think that is?
I just had some sort of reaction to the ingredients,
Like an allergy, almost.
maybe an allergy.
I'll be honest. Like I know when you get a cold, what makes you sick. Like you're getting like if it's like an infection some way or like a bug. I don't know what food poisoning. How you get sick from that? Is it like
what it actually
undercooked
is.
food that's causing your
I
body
think it
to
could
react
depend.
badly?
Yeah, that's
or-
what I want to find out.
I think it could be undercooked, right? I think it could be prepared in not a good way, so cross contamination.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll say this. I know I'm the skeptic, but like I'm a big fan of Gordon Ramsay. I've watched many
Same.
of his shows, hundreds of hours of his reporting.
Of
And-
his reporting.
And watching that, I am like, there's some funky stuff going on in kitchens.
Oh, yeah.
Around the world, frankly.
Like
Yeah.
raw meat next to vegetables, next to
So I mean, I understand how this can happen
yeah.
if it happens.
If it were to happen,
I want to believe.
what do you like, OJ? If I did it,
yeah. Food prep, obviously the
Yeah.
source, farms.
yeah.
Yeah.
You could
I've
get
seen
just
some videos
bad-
from these farms. Doesn't seem that
Horrible.
clean.
No,
Remember when Chipotle had the big, was it salmonella
There's
or
E. coli.
E. coli
Yeah.
outbreak? To me, that's food poisoning. Like
yeah.
you consume that
Yeah.
and then you get sick from it.
Yeah.
But that's not happening as often as people are saying they get food poisoning.
no, because
Like for
food-
recalls and
that's,
stuff,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
a different thing. That's like a recall. Someone messed up a whole batch of
Exactly.
it.
Yeah. See that? I think that's where things get complicated because, of course, or like Boris said last year.
Yes.
Right.
There's these things where there's nationwide recalls and all this stuff, and then it's like, okay, they're tracing this back to the source, and they know this is it.
Yes, contamination.
And then there's
across
other
all
stuff
this.
where it's like, okay, me and my buddy go to the taco place.
yeah.
We get the same thing. He's having a problem and I'm not.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because not everyone. This is also the thing with food poisoning is that two people could get the same exact meal and have different reactions to it.
Yeah, clearly. One more question. Mm-hmm. Do you guys wash your chicken?
No.
I hate to say this on camera, but I don't because I know this is controversial in the black community.
It's true.
Yeah, so
Sometimes
let's-
we get
let's
things
hash
wrong.
it out. Yeah.
You're not supposed to wash your chicken because if there is something on it, you're just spreading it. You're not actually cleaning it. Let's say I used to do it because that's the way I was taught.
So
you get
so
the
how-
vinegar.
How would you do it? Yeah.
Vinegar and lemon juice, and you like kind of give it like a little bath, like
Okay.
in a bowl.
As
Yeah.
far as black community misconceptions go, that one's up there with we don't need to wear sunscreen.
Yes,
Got my ass fried a couple of times
Yes.
by following that advice.
we don't need to wash the chicken, yo. I know we're gonna get the emails. It is okay. I haven't been washing chicken for years. I have not gotten food poisoning.
So I want to find out what is food poisoning.
Well, first of all, is it real?
Well, that's
according to you?
that's my second question.
Oh,
How common is it?
okay.
Why don't I get it? How can we stay safe?
What are things to avoid?
Yeah, and we'll find out after the break. Okay, we're back.
I'm Manny.
I'm Noah.
Devin?
So we're talking about food poisoning. I'm skeptical of how common it is. I feel like it's used too liberally, and I'm wondering why I don't get it personally. So I did some research. I had some perfect phone calls with some experts in the field. First up, I spoke to Dr. Ben Chapman.
I'm a professor and food safety extension specialist and department head at North Carolina State University. And the area that I focus on is foodborne illness and food safety, especially around restaurants, retail stores, and consumer homes.
And more importantly, arguably, he has his own podcast called Food Safety Talk. So this is the guy to talk to.
Hey.
Yeah. So first up, I asked him to explain what food poisoning actually is.
Food poisoning technically is like one slice where someone eats something and there's a toxin in it and you get really sick really quickly, like within 6 or 8 hours. You know, back in the 70s or 80s where a whole bunch of people went to a wedding and the next day everybody showed up at the emergency room or at their primary care doctor and then started talking like, oh, what did you have the chicken? Did you have the fish? Whatever, right? Like that's kind of the common look at poisoning. Foodborne illness is a little more nuanced. We see outbreaks now that might be like as few as 3 or 4 people, and they might be in 4 different states or in 2 different countries. And that has, I would say, broadened the view of foodborne illness because it might be E. coli or Salmonella or Listeria, those are kind of very common bacteria that we hear about. And those often take, maybe 48 or 72 hours after eating something to actually start even having symptoms. And it might be another week before someone gets sick enough to go to the doctor, depending on what the illness is.
The timing here makes a lot more sense. I know Manny before was talking about his doctor's telling me, 10 days?
She was saying like it could have been anything in the past 10 days.
There's 6 to 8 hours. That feels like the perfect time. That's when I get food poisoning. That's the timetable. It's
start settling in.
Yeah, for dinner, and then in the middle of the night, you're like, "What's going on?"
I mean, even Listeria can incubate for 70 days, which is really crazy. It's not as easy as just going like, "What's the last thing you ate?" Which is obviously what most people would do instinctively.
We want
it could be something you had literally months ago.
Yeah.
So I asked, what's actually happening in the body during food poisoning? Asked him to go Osmosis Jones mode.
Yes.
Let's start with pathogenic E. coli, and the one that we worry about the most is E. coli 0157H7. So essentially what's happening is someone eats food that has the pathogen in it. The pathogen passes through the stomach and ends up getting to the intestines, and that's the right place for infection for that particular bacteria. And the intestines are a really good environment for E. coli because we have non-pathogenic E. coli in our body at all times. Without having E. coli in our intestines, we would not digest food correctly. So we have this like kind of rogue type of bacteria that's there that lives amongst all the other E. coli, can then move in and out of cells pretty easy, infects. As it grows, a byproduct of its growth, it's essentially the waste from the bacteria. And so that toxin ends up going to the kidneys and then damages kidney cells, or ends up in the bloodstream, in the eyes, and can create blood clots because the body is trying to attack this toxin and can lead to blindness.
I asked how common this is. Going back to my question, people throw this around all the time. I had food poisoning, this, that, whatever.
We estimate that there are around 48 to 50 million cases of foodborne illness a year in the US. If you went across the population and asked people whether they had an irregular bowel movement or if they felt nauseous, how many times a year that might happen, you might see the population might say 3 or 4 times a year I have that, but did not equate it to anything. It's just, I had the 24-hour flu. And what we don't know is how much of that is foodborne and how much is not. On average, somewhere in between 1 in 6 and 1 in 5 people are going to get foodborne illness a year in the US, and the vast majority won't equate it to something that they've eaten, or maybe never will be able to solve that outbreak. It was just something they were exposed to in the food supply.
It's pretty common.
This might be the earliest in an episode's playtime where the host has been wrong. I can't think of
I'm not gonna, I can't play too long.
I'll say too, like I've had food poisoning, but I've never gone to the doctor for it. So, I'm unreported.
I'm assuming these numbers are more than just reported from the hospitals.
I'm assuming they're making
surveys and
some
stuff
guesstimates.
and real studies. But it's like you could easily, even if you were surveyed, you still might, you wouldn't say necessarily you had food poisoning or foodborne illness. Yeah. You might just be like, I had a stomach bug or whatever.
Yeah.
My biggest question personally, why am I not getting it?
So genetics is one. How bacteria and viruses kind of attack our body, there's lots of different ways. It really could come down to the shape of the receptors on a specific cell in my body is different from yours. And that virus only wants to unlock that receptor. We could be eating the same food, and genetics wise, I'm more predisposed to it than you are. Then there's a whole other area of how much and what kind of bacteria or virus is there. There aren't a lot of foods that we eat that I would say are evenly homogenous, the exact same amount of the same thing all over. Like every sip of soda tastes the same because it's the same all through, but we don't eat a lot of foods that are like that. Every bite is a little bit different. And where bacteria and viruses go is also not homogenous. So they could be concentrated in certain areas. The type of food we eat, how much of it, that's also a big factor. And then I would say the third big factor is whether either of us have been exposed to that bacteria or virus before, and we have acquired immune immunity. And there's some really, really good historical data on this. Like people who grew up on dairy farms, for instance, are way, way, way less susceptible to E. coli contamination because they lived in an environment where there was E. coli all the time. And maybe they got sick and exposed when they were 2 or 3 years old, and they have immunity to it because of that.
There was a lot in there, but it did answer one of my burning questions, which was, if Devin and I split a burrito, is it possible that he could get food poisoning from it and I couldn't? And the answer is yes. It seems like, yeah.
So it could be because you got lucky with your bites or simply you're built different.
Yeah.
Which seems to be my luck.
Probably the
so
latter.
Far. But I think so. Safe to say. So now I did ask about when people do react immediately, because he said, most of these have incubation periods that are at least a few hours, if not days or weeks or months. So I asked, what is it when people do react immediately, like you mentioned with your eggplant pizza?
To be fair, I said I did not think it was food poisoning.
Yeah. Let me be clear.
Let the record
But
show.
you said you were eating it and you were like, this feels
Something's
off.
wrong.
Right?
Yeah.
Before you even had a reaction.
Yes.
Right.
My mouth felt weird.
Probably the number one misconception is that the last thing I ate is what made me sick, right? And you kind of hear it all the time in conversations where it's like, I'm not going to eat at X restaurant again because, man, it was terrible. I went home and all night I had diarrhea or vomit or whatever. The misconception there is that most foodborne illnesses take at least 24 hours before, like, from exposure to symptoms. And so you've got to think back to like, well, what did I eat 2 days ago? And shit, I've eaten a lot of stuff over the last 2 days. That being said, there are cases where people get sick very quickly within 30 minutes. It's just not bacterial or viral. It's a chemical contaminant. We've seen cases where someone may have inadvertently used like a cleaning chemical in food, and the difference there is there's often reports of it tasted bad too.
Yeah.
Like there was something I detected sensory wise that was off with this food, and it led to an illness. That's like usually the case. So if it was a toxin or a chemical, it could be very quick.
So Devin, innocent, vindicated, but not for the reason we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's food poisoning in a sense, just not your
Yeah.
classic
Yeah,
style.
you got poisoned from
you know.
food, but not necessarily bacteria related.
So now I want to take a step back. We've kind of gone deep inside the food poisoning process.
Yeah.
But now I want to see how it spreads on the larger spectrum, how these outbreaks occur. So after the break, we find out where foodborne illness comes from and talk to a lawyer who took on a fast food giant to change the game as we know it.
Health officials say people infected with the E. coli bacteria may be unknowingly infecting others. More than 150 people have become ill after eating tainted hamburger meat at Jack in the Box restaurants in Idaho and Washington State. One child has died.
My name is Bill Marler. I'm a food safety attorney based on Bainbridge Island, Washington, which is a ferry ride away from Seattle. By the time the Jack in the Box case was over, I knew more about food safety litigation. I knew more about E. coli than, any lawyer in the world.
To sum it up very briefly, Jack in the Box restaurants were linked to an E. coli outbreak in early 1993, the largest outbreak ever documented in the U.S. at the time.
Ultimately, there were over 650 people sickened, 4 children died, about 75 suffered acute kidney failure, hundreds and hundreds of people were hospitalized. In many respects, you could liken the Seattle area were like a war zone. There were more kids in the hospital than there were dialysis machines.
It turns out Jack in the Box wasn't consistently cooking their hamburgers to the recommended internal temperature. There was a major investigation, and Bill Marler's lawsuit on behalf of the victims secured what was at the time the largest ever settlement related to foodborne illness, over $50 million. It also led to a few major food safety outcomes. Freshly inaugurated President Bill Clinton ushered in new regulations, requiring the USDA to test samples of raw ground beef for E. coli 0157, which was now declared an adulterant. That means if it's found in the product, it cannot be sold. The FDA increased recommended internal temperatures for hamburgers from 140 to 155 degrees Fahrenheit. And E. coli 0157 infection became a reportable disease, meaning all cases must be reported to the government to then be monitored for a larger outbreak. Due to the work of Bill Marler and others, E. coli outbreaks connected to beef in the U.S. have effectively gone down to zero. That's in a nutshell Bill's story and how he got into it. And now he's just a food safety guy. So I asked from a legal standpoint how Bill goes about tracing an outbreak. And things have changed a lot since the 90s, just the technology and science behind it.
So I spend a lot of my time doing the epidemiology of figuring out an outbreak. I think I may be the only lawyer in the world who has an epidemiologist, and I actually have 3 on my staff. I kind of look at ourselves as a health department with a prosecuting attorney attached to it. We figure out, can we connect up this person? And then can we connect it up to a product? And then my job is to go after that company and make sure that they do right by my client and don't poison people again. I got called by a father of a child who had a very severe bout of E. coli. The kid's kidney function, he's 4 years old, is about 40% right now. So the likelihood of him losing his kidneys in his teens is pretty high. He had whole genome sequencing done, but he was not a match to anything. And the public has access to this database where if you know the genetic fingerprint number of that particular person, you can plug it into a database and it'll populate a whole genome sequence tree. So you can look to see whether or not they're linked to anything. And here, the kid, no outbreak. So I was like, well, that's just, sucks, and I can't figure this out. So I was talking to the family and figuring out like what other possible potential sources there were. And I asked him if they had any animals, and he says, we had a dog. And I'm like, well, what did you feed the dog? And he said, well, we fed him Darwin raw dog food. And I'm like, Darwin raw dog food has had problems in the past with bacterial contamination. So we had it tested by a FDA-certified lab, and it came back positive for E. coli and 2 forms of salmonella. The E. coli was a genetic match to the kid. And that, I turned that material over both to the company and to the FDA. And the FDA did an investigation, concluded the same thing I concluded, that the cause of the outbreak or cause of this kid's illness was the dog food. And, it's likely the dog ate the food, the dog licked the kid, that kind of stuff happened. So a lot of times I figure these outbreaks out on my own.
We heard how E. coli in ground beef has basically become a non-issue now after the Jack in the Box lawsuit, but there's a lot of frustration that we haven't had the same level of action on other issues like salmonella in chicken, which is a common one you hear about.
Yeah.
So here's Bill talking about that.
I've repeatedly been beating my head against the wall for 20 years to try to get some movement there. But, it's completely legal to sell salmonella-tainted chicken. It's the rationale, well, the housewives or the house husbands nowadays are responsible for handling the product like, it's a nuclear weapon. Over half of salmonella cases in the United States are caused by chicken. That's 1.3 million Americans every year that are sickened by salmonella. It's crazy.
How does the U.S. stack up against Europe or elsewhere in the world?
It's not like Europe has not had some significant outbreaks. But, for salmonella, they just said, we just won't have salmonella or Campylobacter, which is generally also found with chicken. What they do in Europe is if there's a flock of birds that have salmonella, they'll eradicate that flock. It's not like we don't do that here. We eradicate flocks all the time, but it's usually for bird flu.
Yeah.
But in EU, UK, they eradicate flocks. They also vaccinate animals. We think that that's too expensive. So what happens is you have to assume that every chicken you buy in a grocery store is contaminated with salmonella and or Campylobacter or both, and you're likely right. But, we could do way more. We finally got a little piece of legislation banning salmonella in certain chicken products that went into effect in the Biden administration, and then the Trump administration killed it. I remember years ago when the E. coli was listed as adulterant, the industry was like, oh my God, hamburger's going to cost way too much. It's like the world's going to fall. Oh my God, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's consumers. They should deal with it. And, it all worked out. There are tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, and probably by now millions of people who did not get sick because of E. coli as an adulterant and increased cook temperatures on red meat. It's crazy that you wouldn't sit back and look at it and go, maybe we should do that too.
Yeah.
But there's just so much inertia on the part of industry, so much inertia on the part of government to actually solve these problems. And I don't know. There's a level of frustration that I still have that I just, it's really sometimes very frustrating.
Yeah, it's such an uphill battle, I think, when you're trying to convince like a population to do something, but your proof is that something won't happen if you do it, right? Like like they want to pass better protections on this kind of stuff, but like, the proof would be that you didn't get sick, and then you're just someone could be like, well, I wasn't going to get sick anyway.
We're just lucky that people don't really want raw or like rare chicken the way we do with a steak or something.
If someone goes to a restaurant and get a steak or a burger, like I know Noah enjoys a medium rare.
No, even rare.
Yeah.
But now that we got the E. coli out of the meat, it's fine. The hamburger.
Yeah, so ground beef's not really an issue so much. And then I do ask kind of rapid fire to kind of go through a bunch of these things because I was scared to ask these guys if it's okay for me to order a rare steak. We're going to take a quick break, and when we're back, we conclude our episode with some rapid-fire food safety questions. So I went back to Ben Chapman, our food safety expert from North Carolina State, to kind of run through a list of problematic foods to see where he stands. Sushi, how big of a risk is that?
Restaurants are required to do parasite destruction in raw fish, specifically if it's going to be served raw. So that means that it's got to be frozen usually or some other mechanism before consumption. And parasites are the issue with sushi.
Next, like beef tartare or even just a very rare steak or burger.
So beef tartare is just ground up meat. I would say that's one of the most riskiest things that you can eat. And especially tartare, which if it was ground beef that was sold in the US, that has a testing regime associated with it to make sure before it's released that there aren't pathogens in it. Tartare doesn't go through that. You're starting with like a whole muscle and you're cutting it up or grinding it and making it. Moving to the next one that you mentioned was like a rare steak. I eat rare steak on a weekly basis.
Okay.
The pathogens would be on the outside. So searing the muscle on the inside, it's essentially sterile. And then undercooked or rare hamburger is like somewhere in the middle where there's a little bit of protection when it comes to ground beef. It's getting cooked a little bit, but who knows how much.
Yeah.
And so I'm a fan of temperature specifically. So I'm looking for like 155 degrees Fahrenheit. If it's a steak, I'm probably cooking my steak to like 120 degrees. The very outside of it is probably getting to 400 and killing everything.
Okay.
And then tartare is something that I think is really risky.
Next, I asked about oysters because, once in a while I'll see a story and it's like, oysters are the most dangerous thing you can eat.
Yeah.
People just died.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I see oysters all the time from places that I don't think, frankly, should be serving oysters.
That's true.
All year round, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I need this guy to tell me what's up.
Raw oysters are among the riskiest things that we have. Many of the cases that we see when it comes to oyster illnesses are things like the pathogens called Vibrio. Often people are predisposed to Vibrio illnesses if they are aging, if they are heavy drinkers and they have liver issues. And weirdly, that is a factor for people getting sick from raw oysters, is someone who consumes a lot of alcohol and then is exposing themselves to these pathogens.
So I have to stop getting oysters, is what he's telling me.
I think overall you're okay, especially if you're not predisposed per se.
Yeah, I'm not aging.
And if you're, I guess maybe the advice would be try to find oysters that are actually local and not shipped across the country or something like that. So hopefully they're fresh. So yeah, I wanted to ask about leftover rice because this is another one where I was like,
this one drives me
crazy. This is crazy because more than anything, Oysters, of course, I believe people get sick from this, but
Yeah.
you see them all the time, but it's not like an everyday occurrence. Leftover rice people are eating all the time.
I had
at
leftover
home,
rice
everywhere,
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really big social media issue.
Yeah.
The entire leftover rice, I don't know, controversy or issues come from an actual true story where someone got sick from eating leftover rice. The illness was associated with something called Bacillus cereus. The bacteria survives as a spore with dry rice, and so most of our rice has Bacillus cereus in it. The spore wakes up during cooking, which is counterintuitive, right? It has to be heat treated to essentially shock it awake. And then if rice is stored incorrectly after cooking, it can grow. And in fact, that is really the issue with leftover rice. It has nothing to do with leftovers.
Yeah.
And in fact, the case that drew this was someone left rice on their countertop for 2 days after making it. And that's like not a good idea for any food. And then took it and put it in the refrigerator and a couple of days later ate it.
Okay.
And the story became, well, they ate leftover rice. It's like, true, they did, but the leftover wasn't the factor. It was post-cooking, leaving it on the countertop.
Yeah. So
And
then it's just kind of festering, essentially.
Yeah, in that you provided the perfect environment for the bacteria to grow. I eat a lot of leftover rice. I will eat it on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I cook rice and then I put it in the refrigerator right away. And then I might eat leftover rice for a week afterwards. So it's not a time factor once it's in my refrigerator. It's really about how quickly I get it in the refrigerator after I make it.
And the last one was about washing chicken. So here's what Ben had to say about
Let's hear about
washing
this.
chicken.
We did a lot of research on this
cool.
on this issue. We actually brought people from the community in to prepare chicken who identified themselves as someone who washes chicken, so we better understand what happens during that process. And what we've learned is why people wash chicken is because they think that they're removing something. Some people think they're removing bacteria. Some people think they're removing slime.
Yeah.
All of those things are taken care of during the cooking process. And so washing can only increase risk. When you're washing it, you're taking the bacteria that is on the outside and you are depositing it somewhere in your kitchen, whether it's in your sink basin or outside of the sink. And so the work that we did demonstrated that people who do that can often contaminate their sink, contaminate other food that they're making along the same time, and other places within their kitchen, like spice bottles. So the kind of message that's out there is, don't wash your chicken, which is really not a great message because people are like, well, I wash my chicken. So why don't you tell me how to do it safely? And so it's more about like, if this is something that you're going to do, making sure that you clean and sanitize your sink basin, which is the most likely place to get contaminated, because we do a lot of other food related things in the sink, like rinse lettuce in a colander, for instance. And so bacteria that's in the basin can bounce up into that colander, which is what we saw in our study.
Hopefully this helps. Before we get into our takeaways, I do want to recommend a documentary that both Ben and Bill are in.
Oh, wow.
It's on Netflix, and it's called Poisoned, The Dirty Truth About Your Food. This was my first step in my research, and then I grabbed these guys from the documentary. It's directed by Stephanie Suchtig, and it's based on a book by the journalist Jeff Benedict. So I will say, watching this, it took me about 3 minutes of hearing Bill talk before I was convinced I was pretty wrong about food poisoning. Because it opens and, talking about all these horrible stories. I was like, okay, this exists.
Yeah. Fair enough. Hey, we love someone who knows when they're wrong and they can admit it.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing about this podcast.
And also,
I'm not embarrassed.
Yeah, at the end of these episodes, when we learn like this large amount of information, I always wonder how much it's going to change my life personally. And I think this is the first time we're like, actually, probably will. I've never really checked the temperature of the chicken. I just kind of look at it and it's like kind of looks done. And, I might start, I do have a thermometer. I might start poking it.
Yeah.
And then on the opposite side of this, like, I do feel like a little, I feel safer getting rarer meats when I go to a restaurant. So I might try some of that.
Yeah, it's more just understanding what the actual risks you should be worried about are overall, I feel like.
Yeah, usually we talk to an expert and they tell us what's wrong with something. And I'm like, all right, great, thanks. I'm not going to change my life.
Let me go about my life now.
But this one seems pretty important.
Yeah, this was helpful. I would say I was, as someone, a food poisoning victim,
Survivor.
Survivor, yes, sorry. I thought your premise was ridiculous. I did think people overestimated. So the fact that it really isn't, like there is a lot of food poisoning.
Oh yeah, it's out there.
So I will say I'm gonna apologize to some people out there who I said were maybe faking.
Anyway, write to your Congress people, I guess, about salmonella.
Yeah, let's do
that's
let's
something
test
where-
the
so,
chickens.
yeah.
What are we doing?
I mean, it's
It's crazy.
It feels similar to the headlights episode where it's like, look what they're doing over there. Makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
Just test them.
We just
it's-
won't fucking
it's
do it.
demonstrable
Yeah.
differences, and like Bill says, where it's like everyone freaked out at how expensive meat would be.
Yep.
It adjusts. It's not, once it's built into the thing, it's just that's what it is. I mean, overall, the factory farms and stuff, makes me want to go, avoid that more.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
practice, who knows?
Yeah.
But it seems pretty bad out there. Of course, the onus just falls on us as consumers and cookers ourselves to do it like so many other things in
Well,
society.
the issue too
But
is
yeah.
no one cares until they're a victim of it.
Well, yeah, exactly. So
Like I'm not really thinking about salmonella if I don't have it.
Yeah.
They had this big food safety conference in Cleveland a couple weeks ago, 4,000 people in a room, and they always pick somebody once a year to be like the keynote speaker for the conference. But the guy who gave the speech, he goes, one of the things that we should really do is, put Bill Marler into retirement. Is Bill Marler here?
No such thing.
No Such Thing is a production of Kaleidoscope Content. Our executive producers are Kate Osborne and Mangesh Hattikudur. The show is created by Manny Fidel, Noah Friedman, that's me, and Devin Joseph. Theme and credits song by Manny Fidel. Mixing by Steve Bone. Our guests this week are Ben Chapman and Bill Marler. Visit nosuchthing.show to subscribe to our newsletter. And if you have feedback or a question for us, our email is mannynoahdevin@gmail.com. You can also leave us a voicemail by calling the number in our show notes. We'll be back next week with a new episode. Thanks.
No such thing.